What happened up there in the run-up to the Passover feast? How did the healer, the preacher, the people's friend come to be crucified? To answer these questions, we have followed in spirit the book To the Cross, a dramatic sequence written by Michael Justin Davis and illustrated by Simon Brett. However, in an effort to give it a greater immediacy, we have imagined that GBC, after a series of interviews, has pieced together the events that led up to it.
Starting to ask questions, with the authorities having arrested a man who's now in custody. Well, back to our main story, and one of our reporters talked to a priest about the events at Golgotha. Unfortunately, he seemed more interested in telling us about his great responsibilities, more attentive to his laptop really, than in answering our questions. In the end, he did admit to some points. This is what he had to say.
Well, what do you ask?
We're interested in your part in what happened at Golgotha.
I've given my life as a priest to the keeping of order. There is nothing more important than the preservation of peace in the Holy Land.
It said a man came to see you.
Every year during the weeks before the Passover, my clients report on all disruptive groups. In the Holy City, peace is of supreme moment.
And what did the man want?
Yeah, he claimed he could put one of those fanatics into our hands. Disorder then in Jerusalem would have been blasphemous.
And?
The crucial test is, of course, in the narrow streets. When our people come crowding together as they did then, thousands of families in the spring sunshine.
And who was this fanatic?
Oh, the healer who called himself the Son of Man. And frankly, he didn't worry me too much.
The one who was crucified at Golgotha.
Oh, family after family after family herding in to make their home here briefly, as our Lord demands, till they have eaten the Passover.
What made you change your mind?
Oh, they crammed themselves into every corner, happily huddled together, like sheep in the fold.
So what made you change your mind?
Like easily aggravated, easily stirred, explosive under the Roman heel.
Was it because he claimed to be the Messiah?
The Messiah? All he asked was for a mere 30, the old price of a slave.
And did you have him arrested?
Yes, we certainly arrested him.
And had him crucified at Golgotha?
Oh, every year I feel as most must have felt ordering the flight from Egypt. Nothing must be allowed to hinder the festival of creation and Exodus. Movement from chaos to order, from womb to world, ritual offerings of first fruits, meat and grain, in peace at Jerusalem.
As we knew where Jesus was being questioned, we sent Jonathan Scott to see what he could find out.
Thanks, Gerard. We're in a back street not far from the palace where I've spotted one of his followers. On this cold spring morning, Peter looks heartbroken.
Let the cock crow!
Why do you say that? You're one of the preacher's followers, aren't you?
I do not know that man.
Of course you do.
I don't want to know that man. He's rejected me for my weakness, reviled me for sleeping in the garden at the hour of his agony. He demanded more than my body could perform.
But you seem to be the leader of his followers.
Jesus wanted me strong as a rock, named me Peter, but knows now I am even less than Simon, who once obeyed his call. I am sand. I shall fall away, forget him, vanish, and long to be forgotten.
You and 2 others were always close to him. He must have shared some of his secrets with you.
With James and John, twice we shared revelation, and now experience death of the soul.
They say he worked miracles. Did he work miracles?
We exulted together when the little girl, a mere corpse on the bed, made the feather tremble with her breathing. Jesus is the Lord, we said, of death and life. Hallelujah! She got up and walked.
And the other revelation?
James, John, and I, we marveled together, heavy with sleep, below the 3 shining figures on the mountain, awestruck.
You saw Jesus transfigured.
Yes, we saw Jesus transfigured. Our Master, aloof in his radiance. We worshipped him. Hallelujah!
Tell me, what happened earlier on?
In Gethsemane, James, John, and I, under a clouded moon, we whispered together. Separated from the others yet again, we shivered with expectation. What third, final insight would we find among the tents of the pilgrims? What revelation?
What was that?
Only the sour knowledge that Jesus rejects us because we are ordinary men. Why excite the spirit if you know the human flesh cannot respond? There is no hallelujah.
Why'd you say this? What happened to you?
How can you keep vigil when your eyelids fall like sodden curtains? How can you pray when your mind, overpowered, dissolves into sleep?
So you fell asleep, and then? When they came to arrest him, did no one put up a fight?
When your fingers by instinct clench your knife, how can you hold back and not defend your master, not strike at the enemy? Eyelids and fingers move of their own accord, like the tongue. They're living flesh, but...
But what?
But Jesus rebuked me for drawing blood. Let the cock crow!
What did Jesus promise you?
To be a fisher of men was a crazy aberration. Reviled for a failure I could not help, I blot out the shining vision, or, haunted by Jesus, may as well be dead as go on living.
Before following Jesus, what did you do?
I am a catcher of fish, and now I return to my net where I belong. I do not care if men gossip at the city gate or, make my failure the theme of their drunken songs. My faith is dead. I do not want to know that, man. Let the cock crow again and again and again!
A very emotional Peter. Clearly a man with a lot on his mind. That's it from me, Jared. It's back to you in the studio.
Well done, Jonathan. It obviously wasn't easy for him to interview a man in such a confused state, yet he managed to get some vital information concerning rumours about Jesus, that he could bring back people from the dead, his transfiguration, and almost a foreknowledge of his fate. Well, I'm just hearing that it seems on his way out, Jonathan spotted another important figure involved in the story of Golgotha. Over to you, Jonathan.
We're waiting here patiently. There really is no way of knowing. Your Reverence, a few words, please. What did he say?
When I, the examiner, asked him, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the King of the universe?" what do you think he answered? His reply shattered belief in the power of hearing.
What do you mean? What was it he said?
"I am the Christ, the Son of the King of the universe. I, the Son of Man, am God."
No.
You do well to cry out, sharing my passionate horror at this blasphemy. As a sign of condemnation, I clutched my robe and, with abhorrence, rent it apart.
How did Jesus react?
He stands unmoved, it seems, by fear at the thought of his death, of stones being hurled at him to graze, cut, bruise, break him, stun, and finally kill him. How gently he smiles. Strange, strange.
And then?
One of my senior policemen spits at him. Now 2, now 3 spit at him. The spittle meanders down Jesus' face, his brow, his cheeks, his beard. Still he smiles. Bizarre.
What did you make of that smile?
I said, cover his face up. Would have let him be taunted. Call on him to play the prophet now. He says nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. Police of the temple will soon take him to the procurator for a Roman trial.
So he's still here?
Yes. If you wish to strike him, go in. You need not restrain your blows. There will be no reprisals for a false prophet tormented. No disorder in the universe. No eclipse of the sun.
Well, with that, we return now to the studios.
Well, many things happened on the way to Golgotha. The scene now moves to the fortress of Antonia. There's excitement in the air there, excitement that could easily boil over. Pilate, the governor, is nervous. The last thing he wants is bad press. So he's given one of our reporters, Paul Grant, an interview.
What was the main objective to your coming here?
I have come from Caesarea to Jerusalem to keep peace, Roman peace, in this turbulent city. The zealots are increasingly violent, but I shall prevail. I have no intention of being recalled to Rome.
And why do you live in this fortress and not in a palace?
Not for me a soft bed in the palace of Herod. I chose a soldier's rough billet here with my garrison in the fortress of Antonia. And from up here in the tower I can keep a watchful eye on the temple court, day and night. My wife says the hawks are flying strangely. That is a bad omen. Feverish crowds of pilgrims throng and seethe like maggots in a rotting carcass. I knew there would be trouble this Passover, and there is. These Jews I have to control. I know them,
And the Jew, Jesus of Nazareth?
Well, frankly, I would prefer this young Jew to wriggle out.
What is he like?
Like any revolutionary, he looks wild, ragged, smouldering, this so-called Christ. But his eyes have a most shrewd gaze that probes even the tough skin of an experienced Roman governor like me.
How?
His gaze releases the poison within me. He cleanses me with his eyes, cutting remorselessly all that is rotten. I am unnerved and purified.
What does he say to your charges?
What does he murmur? You have said so. That is all I can get out of him. You have said so.
What did you ask him?
And what does that mean in reply to my straight question? Are you king of the Jews? You have said so. Is he denying, accepting, rejecting? Enigmatic? Then silence. But I know he is innocent. To a man of my experience, it is obvious.
Did he say anything else?
Not another word.
And what are your options now?
To nail his limbs to a cross, or, after a whipping, set him free.
Free?
Yes. I want him to roam the fields with his friends and wander in and out of grimy villages, curing lepers and blind beggars with his hands that are never still. I shall let him go.
Is it true there have been complaints about you?
Oh yes, there have been complaints about me at Rome. The Jewish elders whined, Pontius Pilate is clumsy, abrasive, unyielding. He will not understand the way of life of the chosen people. And Tiberius told me, play safe. If you want to keep your job in Jerusalem, you cannot afford to upset those whining rabbis again.
And what was the complaint about?
Oh, I had the gilded Roman shields with Tiberius' name and mine hung up in Herod's Jewish palace as a healthy reminder of Roman rule. But the rabbis nearly got me recalled for provocation. I had set up idols, they claimed, for Caesar worship. A shield, an idol. But Tiberius warned me, be very careful. Jerusalem is explosive. Explosive, as if I don't know it only too well.
Well, viewers, as you can clearly see, we got more than we bargained for. As I've not yet been dismissed, I'm going to stick around and see what the governor eventually decides. Until then, it's back to the GBC studios.
Pilate used the word explosive, and he was only too right. Word has come to us that things outside the fortress of Antonia are hotting up. Let's go live there now.
Thank you, Gerard. Yes, things are hotting up, as said. Mixed with the crowds are some elders whom I suspect are keeping things on the boil. Pontius Pilate is invoking the custom of releasing a prisoner during this time of the year. So says the rumour. So the crowd is being asked to choose which of two prisoners is to be released. I bet the elders are doing their best to influence that choice. Here is one now. Excuse me, sir. A few questions, please.
Yes?
Is it going to be difficult to choose who is to be set free?
We elders of Israel, experts in Holy Writ and shades of meaning, we have been told to choose. Not a word, not an interpretation, but a life. One man named Jesus to live, the other, also named Jesus, to die.
And you choose?
My lips choose as they must, with words from this real, dangerous world. Jesus, the man of action.
You still haven't answered my question. Both men are men of action. But who do you choose?
I vote for the shrewd, tough nationalist, Jesus Barabbas. Athletic, glamorous, leader against oppression, with an agile body, mesmeric charm. He is more popular even than the other Jesus, the Jesus they blasphemously call Christ.
So you choose might?
My lips choose Jesus Barabbas, son of an ordinary father. Jesus Barabbas, man of the moment, to help my people, writhing under the grip of Rome. The crowd will rise to him. Pontius Pilate, they will declare, release Jesus Barabbas.
Twice you say my lips choose. But what does your mind say?
My mind?
Yes?
But my mind, appalled, cries, no, let the dangerous man of peace go free.
Jesus of Nazareth?
Yes, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus whom they dare to call Son of the Father of all. Jesus, the brilliant expounder of Holy Writ, whose moral teachings point far beyond the law and pierce the heart. Jesus, the most learned of teachers, wiser than Shammai, shrewder than Hillel. Jesus, bringer of light into our dark tombs of the mind to set us free. Jesus, who makes me tremble at dawn. My mind cries out to Pontius Pilate, let Jesus of Nazareth go.
But while your mind cries out, the appalling rabble yell the chant you taught them. Jesus Barabbas. Jesus Barabbas. Jesus Barabbas. Jesus Barabbas. Jesus Barabbas.
That was from the courtyard of the fortress of Antonia. But it's now back to Paul Grant, who's still inside the fortress. Let's go back to him.
A mob surges into the courtyard below. They yell, they roar, and there is also a rhythmical chanting going on.
We want Jesus, they say. We want Jesus. Release him, they demand.
Extraordinary. Extraordinary.
What's extraordinary?
At first it seemed the omens were wrong. That had been precisely my wish for that innocent man with the eyes that pierce and heal me.
And then?
I listened again. I can still hear them now, in the confusion, the sickening yells for a Jesus.
Jesus?
Yes, but another popular Jesus. Jesus Barabbas. That fanatic, a popular thug, a freedom fighter, a zealot with Roman blood on his hands. Then the crowd chanted, Jesus Barabbas, Jesus Barabbas. Oh no, he was not my Jesus, not my healer. Not Jesus, who is called Christ.
And your decision was?
The Jewish priests, angry as wasps, hovered and goaded and menaced. A riot was seething there. The mob erupted in the courtyard with sticks and swords and knives. I was not prepared to risk my job, even for an innocent man. Who would be? The mob had to be pacified. Let them take Jesus Barabbas.
And what about the other Jesus? Your Jesus of Nazareth?
and my other Jesus. The crowd yelled, "Crucify! Crucify!" The Jewish elders threatened, demanded Roman punishment. Rome would have expected me to act, and I did.
And how did you act, Governor?
I said, "Bring cold water," with an oriental gesture unlike me. I rinsed my fingers there in sight of the mob. Even those who couldn't understand my language could see I wash off blood with water. The blame is not mine. Now I release that criminal and I hand over Rome's innocent victim, my enigmatic Jesus, the only Jew I have ever liked, to a whip that flays.
And then?
To be taken away to the cross, to Golgotha.
The man who made the arrest of Jesus of Nazareth possible is Judas Iscariot. He was one of the 12 who followed him, one of his close companions, yet he sold him for 30 pieces of silver. The 30 pieces he tried to return. Why did he betray him? Why did he try to return the money? One of our roving reporters was around when he flung the 30 pieces of silver, so he followed him out of the city and tried to question him. I say tried, for this was no longer a man in his right mind. See if you can make any sense of his replies.
I say, that was quite a gesture, throwing away 30 pieces of silver. Have you changed your mind? Are you his friend again?
I have kissed him. Kissed him.
So you were close to him?
Ever since I can remember, I have had my vision of the Messiah.
Is he the Messiah?
And now, it is being fulfilled at last. I have snapped the twisted stick of humility and pulled apart the thin cords of lowliness. But not with my hands, but with my lips. My lips.
But you sold him!
I have delivered him up! With a kiss. With a kiss. Under the gnarled olive trees. For 30 shekels. The price of a slave. For the prophet who represents the Lord.
Why?
Enough, enough, enough! Enough, 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 enough! Enough! Enough of this dressing up in rags. Like Elijah, disguised as a beggar to test the worm-eaten hearts of men. He who behaves like a slave, laying his hands on suppurating flesh, kneeling to wash feet that have scuffed the ordure in ditches, will now behave like a king! Like a king!
And what will this king bring?
There has to be confrontation. Violence of war. Though only for a few hours. A sudden bloodletting. Like the slaughter of the firstborn in Egypt.
You've known Jesus for a long time. Why now?
I have timed it with precision. Fatal to the Romans in our passionate city. The night of the full moon, darkened by cloud, will end in a blood-red sunrise. Blood-red sunrise.
Don't you feel guilty?
At home in South Judea, when they hear the delirious trumpet calls announce the day of liberation, they will not yet know It was I, a true son of Kerioth, who forced the Son of Man with a kiss, to put off his old ragged grey coat and strap on his armour, burnished for conquest. Burnished for conquest. But I shall become known. I shall be honoured in Kerioth and in Jerusalem. Shh. At any moment I shall hear the drums and trumpets, and the screams of Romans dying. Romans dying.
I see or hear no drums or trumpets, except a blood-stained man bearing a heavy beam on his way to Golgotha.
Golgotha. Skull. Death. When the Roman corpses lie gashed and smeared in the gutters, and our Messiah enters the temple in triumph, he will pay tribute to my impatient bravado.
For sending him to his death?
I, Judas of Kerioth, who had the vision, chose the moment and lit the dangerous flame.
What flame?
I shall be chronicled as the beloved disciple, whose kiss heralds a new world. It will be me that Jesus acknowledges. Judas the Liberator.
Judas the Liberator? He will be dead before the beginning of Passover.
And at the next Passover feast, when Jesus has been king for a year, honored and robed in purple, he will give orders for me to sit next to him at his right side. We will eat and sing, and then, over the third cup of wine, before the blessing, he will turn to me. And in the brilliant torchlight, while everyone gazes at us, he will pay me with a kiss. He will pay me with a kiss. With a kiss. With a kiss.
So, obviously not a man in his right mind. God knows what he might get up to. Next, a story Davina Barbara picked up. It's about a cloak. So, what has that got to do with Golgotha? This is the story.
Thank you, Jared. So tell me then, what about this cloak?
You see this cloak? I said to my wife. It's being worn by someone very grand. A royal. Go on, she said. Think I'm going to believe that? You're teasing me again. It's your cloak, silly. Your new one. So I told her that the guy who had worn it was nutcase, that the Jews called king.
And she believed you?
We had a good giggle and a few hugs. But then she noticed the dried bloodstains. They're quite hard to see on the scarlet cloth. That's when she started to get really upset.
And did you manage to calm her down?
I explained to her how it was all in fun. But official, too. How I really was on duty. And how the poor bastard's back was bleeding anyway from those metal balls tied to the whip thongs. His skin was hanging in strips. His flesh was lacerated. His back was a real mess.
She can't have taken to that.
It's horrible, she said. Cruel. And you made it worse with your mockery. You men.
And how did you get out of that one?
Now look, I said. Only pretending he was an emperor with a thorny crown, you know, like Tiberius on the coins. Only a few thorns, just a bit of a laugh. We hung my cloak on him like a purple robe, and then we shoved a swagger stick in his hand for a scepter. It didn't hurt him, honest. I don't think it meant anything to him. It was very dim and weedy. Pathetic specimen.
And did those words work?
And she let fly. Who are you? I'd like to know. Some real important Roman from Rome? You're a mean little local recruit, a nobody from Samaria, chucking your puny weight about.
That's a fiery wife you have.
Yes. And that's when I saw red. Who pushed me into the army? Who wanted me to try for Roman citizenship? Who keeps on shivving me to get a recommendation for a special edict signed by Tiberius? You're the one who's always been ambitious, but also oversensitive and niggly as well.
And what did she say to that?
She's like a lot of Samaritan girls. A funny mixture. So I said to her straight, you can't have it both ways.
And did she?
Well, we made quite a rough night of it, I can tell you. It was all right in the end. It always is.
Meaning?
We had a good time before cockcrow, as usual. She knows I've got to play the system if we want to get anywhere.
And what about the cloak?
Well, of course, she washed the cloak to get rid of the poor bastard's blood. There's not a trace of it now. Not a stain. I bet she'll have forgotten about it by tonight.
Thank you for your story. The story about the cloak they put on Jesus of Nazareth after he got whipped. And with that, we return to the studios.
But it doesn't end there. We've already been briefed to follow tomorrow's proceedings. Make sure you tune in at 9:30 tomorrow, and we'll tell you all about Jesus of Nazareth's walk through Jerusalem as he carries the very timber that he himself will be nailed to, and will be there as he arrives at his final destination, the place of the skull, Golgotha.
What happened up there in the run-up to the Passover feast? How did the healer, the preacher, the people's friend come to be crucified? To answer these questions, we have followed in spirit the book To the Cross, a dramatic sequence written by Michael Justin Davis and illustrated by Simon Brett. However, in an effort to give it a greater immediacy, we have imagined that GBC, after a series of interviews, has pieced together the events that led up to it.
Our story now moves on to the place of the skull, where we've sent our reporters.
Thanks, Gerard. We're here at Golgotha. We won't show you some of the more gruesome aspects of what's happening here and concentrate instead on some of the people. There is a man here, I'm not sure if he's afraid or whether he's praying, but I know this man. He carried the crossbeam for Jesus. Were it not for him, Jesus wouldn't be here now. Let's see what he has to say for himself. Hello, what's your name?
Hi, Simon.
You're not from these parts, are you?
No, I'm from Cyrene. We've come over here for our first Passover.
And how did you come to carry the crossbeam for Jesus?
Well, it was the wailing cry that made me turn. A group of mourning women were lamenting, but there was no corpse. Only between Roman shields and red cloaks there was a bent figure. Stumbling under a balk of wood, he staggered down the hill.
Yes, go on.
Well, he fell 3 times before he reached me, and the women, they wailed even louder after each collapse, and the soldiers, in their slow march, grew even more impatient. Come here! Come over here and pick up the crossbeam, or we'll never get to the north gate. That's what they said. Their commander called me over. Heave that on your shoulders. Make a move. Come on.
Were you willing to do this?
I cringed away. It was abhorrent to me. I'd never before touched a Roman instrument of torture, though of course I'd seen. After coming to Jerusalem for the first Passover, coming from Cyrene, the upright posts stood ready, day and night, for the next wretches to be crucified.
So you had never been up here?
No, I shunned Golgotha. I hate all violence. I always have. We lamp makers are peace-loving men. Come from a civilized city. Elegant, prosperous Cyrene. There, the Romans hardly ever crucified anybody. But here in Jerusalem, they compelled me to carry that crossbeam.
So you were made to carry the crossbeam. Did anything happen when you did so?
Well, as I heaved it up on my shoulders from the exhausted prisoner, the women wailed.
And now, how do you feel?
Well, when I think that I've helped even a little to relieve the anguish of my tormented saviour.
Your what?
I give thanks. That crossbeam was heavy, even for me, and I'm quite strong. The blood that oozed through his clothes onto the rough plank, from his flayed shoulders, they anointed my shoulders.
Anointed your shoulders?
And his sweat that poured onto the wood from his head and neck, they baptized me.
Baptized you?
When I remembered I obeyed his murderers and did not protest at the ritual of his killing, I am anguished and distraught. He asked my name, he thanked me, and he blessed me.
A good man, and very obviously distraught after such an experience. I understand that a group of soldiers have just finished a game of dice, and here comes one of them now. Did you win or lose?
I'm the lucky one who won this long black tunic with a throw of the dice. The cloth's filthy and bloodstained now, and even when it's been washed, no self-respecting king would be seen dead in it, not even a phony king of the Jews. But it's good enough for us.
And why black?
All these Jewish prisoners have to wear mourning when they're up for trial, so this is what he still had on when the time came to strip him down and get the crucifixion started.
Well, he doesn't look much like a king now, whatever the sign above his head says.
Poor sod. Just look at him. The flies are cruel today. He must be longing to brush them out of his eyes. You can see his fingers twitching and his toes, but that's all he can move, and the flies crawl everywhere.
Not the best of duties, this, is it?
Well, I can't complain. I've done better than my mates. There's still a lot of life left in this black tunic. His sandals are worn out, mere rubbish. His girdle is only a strip of twisted linen, and his shirt is no better than a rag. But this cloth is good, strong stuff. No wonder my mates are jealous.
Who will wear it now?
My wife likes black. She'll enjoy wearing this till she's pregnant again. We don't waste our time. And then I expect she'll cut it and make clothes for the kids.
Good wife, then?
She's clever with her needle. She may add a bit of embroidery to brighten it up. Flowers, birds, fishes, donkeys she's good at. Our little ones love that sort of thing. All kids do, I suppose.
Well, at least you're a happy family man, unlike him.
Yes, it's my lucky day, no doubt about that. I only wish we could hurry things along for that poor sod.
Well, it shouldn't be long now.
No, it won't be long now. Then I'll go to the wife and give her this tunic. She'll be over the moon about it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, Christine Vasquez is also at Golgotha and is keen to find out more about a group of women that have been there throughout the day.
There is one particular woman I'd like to interview. She belongs to a very special group of women. She was trying to give something to drink to one of the condemned men and was pushed aside by the soldiers. She's with us now. So tell me, what do women in your society do and why?
We women of Jerusalem have ourselves experienced the agonies of bereavement, of illness, anxiety, remorse, of love, accident, childbirth, sin and shame, and yet again more bereavement, death and death.
So what do you do up here?
Our task is to relieve pain. We come to places where men and women suffer. We come to kill pain. Oblivion in our hands, even at Golgotha.
And how do you manage to give help when there is no hope?
Well, through the heart of a man who has been condemned to die on the cross, there flows black bitterness. The poison seeps and curdles and festers. So I say to the one whose flesh is about to be pierced, drink this and find peace. Remember no more before your life is wrenched away. Forget all your misfortune. He accepts my cup and he drinks to find relief, to find oblivion.
And did they?
I moved to the first condemned man. 3 will be crucified today, and they must die before Passover, and I offered him the cup. In it, mingled with the wine, is an Arabian frankincense, a sweet-smelling gum, and a merciful opiate to dull the senses, and to blunt all arrows of agony. Drink this, I said.
And does he?
Yes. Then I hurried to the next victim of Roman justice as he lies on the ground. How can such a degraded man, even as a callous joke, be labelled King of the Jews?
So that is what the letters mean.
Drink this. It will give you peace, I say to him. He will not.
He will not?
He will not. A little turn of the head. No. He rejects the cup. Such a refusal I have never known before. I am horrified, terrified. How can a man choose to experience all this pain?
I am as shocked as you.
The soldiers then push me aside. Go away, woman, you've wasted enough of our time. And I keep asking myself, how can he choose the total pain of this vile death? With a turn of his head, he has chosen complete agony. How can any man choose to endure this lingering, tortured end?
He claimed to be more than a man. That's what his followers say. Maybe he is.
But I can do nothing. Nothing. Except move to the third wretch before they nail his wrists too.
Well, back to you at the studio, and meanwhile I'll find other witnesses to this dreadful story.
Yes, that was a far more human story to balance up for the others. What wonderful work that group of women do, not only at Golgotha, but also all over the city. Now, our guest soldier is here now to tell us more about what's happening. Now, hello, and how do you feel about the work up at Golgotha?
I carry out orders, and I don't ask questions. When there's a man to be crucified, I crucify him.
But what a death!
Yes, of course it's a horrible death. Some do call it the cruelest of all.
You seem to know all about it.
Ah, well, yes, I'm a bit of an expert. But none of these criminals are Roman, are they? If they were, they'd be too good for crucifixion. It's only foreign scum who get these nails banked through the wrist and are then hung up there for hours and hours and hours, dying.
But do you think that all of these 3 people actually deserve this, especially the one in the centre?
Deserve it? What do you mean? I'm not interested. I've got a job to do.
So what exactly is your job?
I am the lad who hammers the nails. First we lay him on the ground and we shove the crossbeam under his shoulders. And I bash the nails into his wrists. Sometimes I'm ordered to tie him with rope, wrists and ankles. I pretend it's my choice. Make a joke of it. But I much prefer nails myself.
So, is that it?
Not quite. My mates hoist him up and fix the crossbeam onto the upright. That's their job. Quite low. Our commander likes the face to be within spitting distance. Always at the ready, the uprights are stuck in the rock. We don't waste time at Golgotha.
Then what else do you do?
I keep an extra long nail ready for his feet. And the moment he's hoisted up, I slam it in. Comes with practice.
You seem to get plenty of that in Jerusalem.
It's really a knack.
And after that, have you got any other responsibilities?
Then, between spells on watch, very boring. Off we go on other routine duties, till I get the orders to come back and break his legs.
Break his legs? How do you do that?
With my metal club, specially made.
And do they die then?
Oh, they take days quite often. Sometimes I never get an order at all. He just carries on in his own time.
That must be terrible.
A real nuisance when we need every cross there is room for on Golgotha.
So, do you know why it's called Golgotha?
They say the ground is shaped like a skull. But it sounds a bit fancy to me.
Isn't there a quicker way?
Stoning to death. That's the Jewish way. Much quicker, but primitive. Very crude.
Quite a life for you, isn't it?
Yes, never a dull moment. Not for us lads. With all these rioters, fanatics, zealots, religious maniacs. They certainly keep us busy.
Is it worth it?
Overworked and underpaid as usual. But always interesting.
They certainly are today.
Yes. And everyone is different.
Especially him, Jesus of Nazareth. Well, thank you for joining us. We can now link back to Golgotha, so it's over to you.
There's a group of 3 women around the cross where Jesus has been crucified. 2 of the women take it in turns to console an older woman by holding her in their arms. Her name is Mary, Mary of Magdala, and she's with me now. You were saying, Mary?
At first, the soldiers wouldn't let us get near to the cross. Get back, they shouted, jabbed their spears, hustled us down the slope again. Keep away, they jeered. Your king is too busy to see you. Obstinate bitches. Go back.
Yet they allowed others near the crosses.
The soldiers let other people get near to the crosses, to jeer and spit and make vile gestures. All we could do was wait.
And how did his mother react?
His mother just gazed and gazed at him. But we doubt whether she saw anything at all through those dazed-stricken eyes. I myself saw little of the taut, stretched-out limbs.
What were you seeing?
My eyes were seeing the past. His gentle hands, moving, practical, consoling. And his eyes, looking at me with great attention. Years ago in Magdala.
Tell me more.
That day, when all my jerky, aching bones that I'd never been able to keep still or move as I wanted, suddenly attained peace, harmony.
What had it been like before?
As a little girl, I had been laughed at, left out, ignored. No one would play with me. I was never wanted. If you can't walk properly, but jerk about and spill your food and smear it on your face, of course nobody wants to look at you. Nobody wants to talk to you.
And Jesus?
Jesus looked at me, spoke to me, touched me, soothed me, and healed me. That day, at home. How can anyone want to hurt his hands? How can anyone want to kill his eyes?
When were you allowed to go near him?
No longer attracted by the pain of the men on the crosses, the bored crowd wandered off home and the jeering faded. Then the soldiers didn't bother anymore to stop us coming close to the foot of the cross.
Have you been waiting long?
We have waited an eternity for him to die. How can she find the strength, his mother? Bewildered, she crouches there in our arms, waiting, waiting without hope.
But you wait too.
I call him my savior. I know he is my savior. I love him too. So we 3 who love him wait together.
And with that moving story of a miracle, a mother's suffering, and the bond of love, we're back to the studios.
Okay, yes, but not for long, because earlier Jonathan tracked down a relative of another victim of Roman punishment. He first asked him whether or not he'd be staying at Golgotha for much longer.
I will not leave my brother. I'm going to stick right by him until he dies on that cross.
Don't the guards mind?
They don't mind now. They let me stay because he's near the end. Sometimes in this awful place and the horrid smell, when the guards are huddled together, I creep up to him and stretch my hand out, flick the flies off and softly touch his sweating body.
And does it help?
Even to feel that I'm still here, to feel that somebody cares, is a help to my brother, so I touch him.
Was he a criminal?
I don't approve of him, mind. I know he's a thief. He's a client of that Jesus Barabbas. They may claim to only rob the Roman bastards, but my brother's always been unreliable.
Was he a very bad person then?
No, he's got a good heart. He's not a bully or a murderer. He doesn't torture people like that one over there. My brother's like our dad was, kind-hearted. He's never done anything worse than steal money. Mind you, I'm glad that my mother died years ago, because the disgrace of this would have finished her.
Has he said anything to you?
Pain does strange things to people. You know, or maybe it's the drug that those old women give to help my brother on his way, but just now I heard him whisper to that wretch beside him.
Jesus?
Yes, he whispered, "Hey, sir, will you remember me when you come into your kingdom?" Doesn't he get it? Doesn't he know it's all over? That man Jesus is a loser. All this talk about a kingdom is just a fanatic's fantasy.
And did Jesus reply?
Yes, he replied, as if the words were being wrenched out of his ribcage. Yes, he said, "I promise today you will be with me in paradise." And my brother whispered back, "Sir, I believe you."
Crazy.
I heard him with my own ears. Is it a game? Some kind of mad fellowship in suffering? Dying like this that they can even pretend there's a future for them.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm glad of this peculiar mercy for my brother. It does help, I suppose.
Well, we thought that would be the end of it, but no such luck. Our brief now is to find out what people think of the crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth. Was it just the death of another fanatic? Was it a 9-day wonder? Tune in tomorrow at 9:30 for the answers.
What happened up there in the run-up to the Passover feast? How did the healer, the preacher, the people's friend come to be crucified? To answer these questions, we have followed in spirit the book To the Cross, a dramatic sequence written by Michael Justin Davis and illustrated by Simon Brett. However, in an effort to give it a greater immediacy, we have imagined that GBC, after a series of interviews, has pieced together the events that led up to it.
For the final scenes of the story of Golgotha, we've been twice lucky. To start with, a second interview with Mary of Magdala, and then one with our highly respected counsellor, Joseph of Arimathea. A common denominator to these two interviews is the impact, the change Golgotha has had on their lives.
I walk in freedom, but grief imprisons me. My clothes, my body, my spirit all mourn. Self-accused, I wear my black clothing, ritual garments put on by each of those many prisoners whose trials I have calmly attended as an impartial expert of the law in the hall of hewn stones. Innocent or guilty, all the accused must be dressed in mourning there, in the highest court of Israel. And now, I, so often the judge, find myself guilty, full of remorse, penitent and mourning. I kept my new loyalty secret, concealed my belief in Jesus, hid it from my important wealthy colleagues, my fellow counselors, devout Israelites like me, who would have spurned me. For my new faith that searches my heart, my powerful friends would have derided me. My distinguished friends would have disowned me. I am wealthy, respected, but I am not a courageous man. I dread rejection. I hid my unorthodox allegiance. Fearing what was to come, I absented myself from the meeting where Jesus, I knew, would be accused. I slipped home and I left him. My servants lit my lamps, and I studied the holy writings while he was being condemned and tried. Now crucified.
When the soldier said, "He's finished, so be off with you women. He's dead, I tell you. He's had it. There's nothing more you can do. Go home." We were so tired. All we could do was stumble a few paces and crouch down among the rocks. I cradled his mother in my arms. Our grief was dry. Dry. There were no friends, no disciples, only us desolate women keeping watch again. I tried not to think of the corpses of the criminals piled up in the communal tombs, where I knew the Romans would fling all that was left of him. An old woman passed by, offered us a little bread. We accepted it gratefully.
Old Nicodemus, though he is bolder, he dared to go to Jesus at least by night. Nicodemus sympathized with my timidity, but I went to Golgotha, to the cross. I repent of my cowardice. I am full of sorrow. The real danger is over now that Jesus is dead. But though I was still apprehensive, I asked his mother, she was distraught, to let Nicodemus and me take charge of the burial. In her bewilderment, it was a relief.
Then a strange man, much agitated, a wealthy Israelite, Joseph of Arimathea, came to ask to see about a burial for Jesus. Our anxious relief came in an outburst of weeping. When he had gone, we huddled together again. We dozed and eventually slept.
I summoned my courage. I hurried, a suppliant, to Pontius Pilate. He granted me audience at once and allowed me without demur, even without a paltry bribe, to take from the Roman soldiers of the cross the body of my master. It could not be left to rot there in the Roman fashion, a corpse torn by vultures and gnawed by wolves and rats. It would be safe in the cave, where I intend to lie myself when I am dead, in my garden beside Golgotha, just beyond the city wall. Evening would soon have been upon us, and Sabbath would begin. We had to be quick, old Nicodemus, my 3 servants, and I, to avoid ritual defilement. After the spear thrust had certified Jesus was dead, the soldiers lowered the crossbeam. We picked it up, and supporting the rigid body with a strip of cloth under his loins, we hurried, jostling over the stony ground between the tombs to the cave.
We woke up to see a group of 5 men swiftly carrying the body still nailed to the crossbeam. This Joseph of Arimathea, this highly respected counselor, must be a courageous man to have braved the Romans. It was agreed that Joanna and I would come at dawn, When the Sabbath was ended, with all that we would need to prepare the body for its true burial, then I went home with Jesus' mother. She slept. For a long time we could not, but I have no memory of that Sabbath.
There we laid him down, carefully withdrew the nails from wood and flesh, wiped the skin with ointments, lifted the body from the crossbeam onto my white shroud, which we folded to cover the face and limbs, and we hastened out before the first star could glimmer in the sky or the trumpet blare to announce the beginning of the Sabbath. I eat unleavened bread and bitter herbs. I dip my food in salt, and I think of our nation's release from bondage in Egypt. I try to rejoice, but there is no joy in my heart, no sense of escape from the prison of my cowardice.
It was still dark when we got up and prepared ointments of aloes, yellow resin of myrrh, sponges and cloths, and flasks of olive oil. As dawn was breaking, we walked through the north gate and made our way among the tombs, some squared, some rounded. We hoped we wouldn't have long to wait for Joseph's men to arrive and heave the stone aside and let us in. We didn't want to get our work over and done with. Then we came within sight of the tomb we were looking for. Oh no! We stared at it in horror. A gaping mouth of rock, open, wide open. The huge stone had been rolled aside in its groove. Who could have dared to enter? No Israelite would have taken the risk, when even to touch the body would have meant ritual defilement. The Romans? Why? We ran to the tomb and peered in. Somebody was there. A young man in white clothing sat at the entrance on our right, on guard. He shone. He inspired awe and fear. We shrank away, terrified. He stood up and spoke. "Do not be alarmed," he said. Alarmed? We were petrified. "You're looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who died on the cross. But he has risen. He's not here." The man pointed to the stone of anointing at our feet in the antechamber. "Look," he commanded. "There is the place where they laid him." I stared at the bare rock. Tears filled my eyes. "You must go," he said, "and tell his disciples this. Jesus is going before you to Galilee. There will you see him, as he said you would." We turned and ran with our baskets and pitchers. We ran all the way home, too frightened to tell a soul. But who anyway would believe a mere woman? Only a man can bear witness and hope to be believed. But I, Mary of Magdala, too frightened until now to describe that amazing morning, know that Jesus was no longer in that tomb, that empty tomb. Later, I took a little of that myrrh, those rich, shiny, yellow tears of gum, placed them in a small linen bag, and hung them round my neck on a silken thread in the hollow of my breast. This hidden myrrh is still fragrant, a living perfume.
With that, the story of Golgotha should end. Well, not quite. Cecil Gomez, who devised and produced this series, has something to add before a final word from one of the characters who was at Golgotha.
When I scripted this series for television, it was based mainly on To the Cross, a sequence of dramatic poems written by Michael Justin Davis and illustrated by Simon Brett. However, to give what were a series of monologues a greater immediacy, I turned these into interviews by GBC. The words the different characters speak are mainly the authors. In the last scene you have just heard, instead of turning the monologues into interviews, I intertwined two monologues to make a complete story. For the others, my contribution was scripting the questions the GBC reporters would ask and the links for the presenter. One monologue did not fit this pattern, yet it is essential that you hear it, as it stresses that Golgotha was not an end, but a beginning. The monologue imagines that Simon of Cyrene, 40 years later, is talking or thinking about Golgotha and its effects on so many people's lives. Simon, the lamp maker of Cyrene, who provides the means to have light in many homes, tells us about Christ, who brought and still brings light to millions of homes. He ends up by saying, "And he, lying on the hard and dusty road, blessed me." A blessing all of us here at GBC and all of those who took part on and off screen wish upon you too. Happy Easter.
I think as night falls of people lighting the lamps I have made, and every flame I imagine as being lit by the life of Jesus, resurrected. It's many years since I carried the cross, then crouched at Golgotha, praying for forgiveness, praying, weeping. Ever since that day I have been a Christian. Even before the resurrection, and my wife too. Life is full of change. We have been called Berbers, Greeks, Jews, and now we are known as Christians. Our sons, Rufus and Alexander, often tell my story at their meetings, and I repeat my message of hope. I believe I have been forgiven by my Saviour, and I've forgiven myself. All our old friends have turned against us. They have refused to speak to us again, ever. We have made new Christian friends, though, although sometimes we feel very lonely, as our Saviour did. The clay of every lamp I make, I sign with a hidden cross, remembering how I was called to help Jesus to his death. And he, lying on the hard and dusty road, blessed me.